I went down to Old Joe's Barroom on the corner by the square. They were serving drinks as usual. The regular crowd was there.
Back in the mid-90s, when I arrived in Victoria as a new musician from Toronto, I struggled to find venues to showcase my hip-hop jazz band. A stroke of luck led me to Pagliacci's. As soon as I entered the door, I was captivated and immediately embraced. The atmosphere, hospitality, food, and music made me feel right at home. Over time, I discovered it was a cherished family-operated business. I invite you to join me in meeting some of the owners, staff, and patrons as we dive deep into the essence of this tiny cultural phenomenon called Pagliacci's. Come on in.
God bless her, wherever in the world she may be. She can search the whole wide world over. She'll never find a sweeter man. No, she'll never find a sweeter man. No, she'll never find a sweeter man than me.
What a trip this Liebe has been.
My name's Solomon Siegel. I am a co-owner of Pagliacci's with my father, and we've been running this restaurant for 45 years together. So my father and my uncle opened the restaurant with another family, the Di Fiore family, in '79, and they bought out the other family, Di Fiore's, about 5 years later. I was born in 1981. My mother and father met in the restaurant here, and I grew up here my whole life. And when I was a little kid, I'd come in and go around shining shoes and charging a quarter to make some money, and just to hang out with my dad and be in the restaurant. And I spent my life here, and as time went on, I did pretty much every role in the restaurant. I got involved in music. I started playing with my band in the restaurant and booking gigs here too. And then I had to wander away a little bit. I tried to open my own restaurant, to work for some other restaurants. And then almost 10 years ago, my dad said, hey, we're looking for someone to run the restaurant. Do you know anybody? I said, that's what I do for a living, right, Dad? And then so I came back and I started running the restaurant directly and brought on a wonderful team of managers, and it's been really great. And my dad's still very active and participates in it, but it's a very much a shared vision now.
As pictures pass my eyes, I pray for inspiration.
How has Pagliacci's changed over the years? It's a fascinating thing, because sometimes you need to have a certain amount of change to stay the same. When I came in almost 10 years ago, I knew there was some stuff that had to stay the same here, that you had to have the same delicious bread, right? We had to keep dedicated to our live music scene. We had to have the same amazing tomato sauce. We had to have the same standards of service. But, I don't think people were coming here because we had a bad wine list. So over my tenure in the last 10 years have brought in I think a better wine list. We've brought in like an active cocktail menu. We've expanded our music. We've started doing a lot of new things outside of just the core stuff. Improved our seafood and our steak programs, and started bringing in all sorts of new different things. But with the core being that you're still going to get amazing bread, where the recipe hasn't changed. You're still going to get the same kind of service. You're still going to get the best cheesecake you've ever had in your life. And the dedication to beauty and happiness, that remains static.
But my mind is caging me.
The food concept behind Pagliacci's is that it is honest food that we love. And unless both my father and I think the food is delicious and wonderful, it doesn't go on the menu. We never for a second put something on our menu that we don't feel we can be proud of, that isn't made in-house with the best ingredients for the job. And then we try and be authentic in that. We try and be authentic in making sure it's food that we love and that we think is delicious and that we believe will add to our guests' enjoyment. And that's really what it is this something that is going to make people feel good? Pagliacci's is different than any other restaurant, maybe in the world, because of our natural approach to hospitality. Because we've always been a joyful, guest-focused experience in a very natural way. And my father got that intuitively. You know, like you can read lots of books about the hospitality world now, but my father always got that it was about bringing people into your home every time you step through the door of Pagliacci's. That when you come into Pagliacci's, you should be greeted as a long-lost friend and made to feel that kind of care for you. And that everything else we do, from like the food and the wine and the music and the you know the vibe and stuff, it's all towards that goal of really spreading love, which is you know how my family has always kind of looked at food. It's like food is a way of loving people. Stepping in the footsteps, you know, of my father, who's you know, certainly a you know, a local celebrity, if not a celebrity on a larger scale, is something that's always an interesting thing to reconcile with growing up in a relatively small town, where you know, more often than not, my whole life I've been referred to as Howie Siegel's son. And I think when I was younger, I kind of bucked against that, and I really wanted to purposely differentiate myself. As I've aged, I look at it more of a badge of honor and such pride in everything that my father did, and also that my uncle did in creating this place. And I've come to see the artistry in carving out the legacy, you know, and keeping that. So I don't need to compete with what my dad does, because no one is a better host than my dad. No one creates more of that joy than my dad. And I really try and hold his space in this restaurant. I'm really thankful that he's still here and doing it. And I've found so much joy in creating a canvas sometimes for some of his expression. And he tries to push it onto me all the time. He goes, oh, you do everything, and like, do whatever you want. I'll be like, Dad, what do you think of this dish? He's like, you know what to do, just pick the dish. And I'm like, I know I could do it. I know I could, but I need your input because so much of his soul is in here too. But you know, some of his soul went into making me too. So. We've had more than our fair share of celebrities at Pagliacci's. Ian McKellen was shooting a movie in town, a meal, I believe, and he started showing up here and loved it. Started showing up every day for lunch, and then started showing up after hours, and my kitchen guys would just cook him food after hours and hang out with them. And then one day, about a block away, it was the day before the second Lord of the Rings came out. I'm walking down the street on a day off, and I hear behind me someone goes, Solomon! And I look around, I'm like, oh, hi, Ian, how you doing? And he goes, holds up a bag, I just got soup from your restaurant. And I was like, oh, thanks so much. What you up to? Why aren't you eating in-house today? And he goes, we have a screening of the second Lord of the Rings at the Vic Theater over here. You want to come? I went, all right. So the day before the second Lord of the Rings came out, I sat next to Ian McKellen. I sat next to Gandalf and watched the movie. And that's probably my most fun celebrity story from Pagliacci's. So Pagliacci's, the name comes from Italian opera. And of course, being an Italian word like lasagna, Pagliacci's has a silent G in it. Most people don't pick up on this, and they'll call it Pagliacci's or Pags for short. And people like to correct me on this all the time. And you know, a family philosophy from us, going back to my grandfather, is you can call me whatever you want, just don't call me late for dinner. So we've just accepted whatever people want to pronounce the name like. And if they want to call us Pags or Pagliacci's or you name it, you know. But as long as they're here for dinner, then they carte blanche. But it is a silent G, and it is, you know, it is to much shock in Victoria, pronounced Pagliacci's. Pagliacci's is where people come to eat Italian food cooked by Sikhs and served to them by Jews. You know, my family is very proud to be Jewish, and we're very proud of who we are. And we live in a world where there's always a lot of prejudice. So, you know, and I think my father and my uncle, you know, from day one, really didn't have space for that. And really, we've always been a welcoming place for anybody of any ethnicity or religion or sexuality or sexual orientation or you know, you name it. We're not necessarily a politically correct place. We'll probably use half the wrong words most of the time. But the point is that people are welcome here, and that we've always really thrived off personal expression. This is not a place where it's about fitting in. This is a place where it's about being who you are and expressing yourself and having big, bold flavors and big, bold ways of living. And I encourage that through my whole staff to be who they are and to welcome every single guest who comes in here for who they are. We haven't advertised in 45 years of business at Pagliacci's. I think advertising for a small independent restaurant like this is not, certainly not what we're about, and I don't think it would really work. For us, where we spend the money is internally. Our guests are part of the family. They're part of the fabric of Pagliacci's. So we need to do a certain level of outreach. So we donate a lot of gift cards to different local charitable events for silent auctions and stuff. We're able to help out local things that way. And then we pour quite a bit of money into our music program because, you know, I believe, and as my father believes, that that live music is so deeply important to a community, and having a place for live music to happen is it's just a beautiful thing. So it's been where we've poured our money into instead of advertising in that community focused stuff. Hate speech and anti-Semitism online is something that certainly has affected, you know, Pagliacci's. We are very clear about who we are. We're very proud of our Jewish heritage. We're proud of and proud of all the heritage of all the different people who work here. You know, our head chef Suk, who's been with us since 1980, is Sikh, and the Sikh community has been a huge part of shaping Pagliacci's and what it is. And as in different ways as every community, and as is the gay community and the trans community, these are all important to the fabric of Pagliacci's, and we feel it's important to stand up for our community. When people come to Pagliacci's, I want them to feel like they're coming home. I want them to feel like this is their place, that they're at that place that they can hang out and enjoy themselves, that they have the freedom to be expressive, to the freedom to you know, say, hey, can I have a little bit more cheese, please? You know, like without being charged. And I want them to enjoy the music. I want them to really experience what going out, what community, what connection is about, right? Creating these memories and creating joy is what you're supposed to be doing when you're going out. You're not supposed to be delicate and worry about, you know, too much about how you look or if you're like got a bit of sauce on your chin. You're supposed to be having fun. You're supposed to be connecting in a mindset that creates love. And that's what I ultimately want, is I want them to feel the same way that my bubby, my grandmother, made me feel when she made a meal for me when I was a kid, which was that by making this meal and watching me eat it, that was her loving me. And I want every single person who comes in here to feel the way that I felt with my Jewish grandmother making me a meal when I was little.
My name is Sadie. My dad owns the restaurant, and sometimes I like to help out by bussing tables. And this is my dog Mitzvah. He is tired. That's his role at the restaurant. I play music. I play piano with Daniel Tate. He's an awesome piano teacher, and he's a really awesome guy. And I play ukulele with Avram. Dad, what's his last name?
McHaggerty.
I don't know how to pronounce that. that thing.
Yeah.
He's also really nice. I actually had dinner at his house last night. Working with my dad is interesting. A lot of the people know me and like what I like to eat and drink, and they'll be like, "Oh, Sadie, do you just want your usual?" And they'll be like, "Oh, hi, Sadie," and like, it's like a community here. My favorite thing to eat here is something that I don't know the name of. Dad, what's the thing? The Cappelletti.
Oh, the cabinet of Dr. Cappelletti.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to eat here. It's like kind of like it's like this really yummy tortellini, like cheese covered like tomato sauce. It's my favorite thing. It's really good. Me and my dad have not played music here together. I've played with my grandmother. Her name is, wait, I don't know her name. That's scary.
Marion Siegel.
Her name is Marion Siegel.
Yeah. The band is called the British Columbia State Orchestra.
Yeah, and I call her Bob because it's just, I call her Bob. And I've played with her. I played Pagliacci on the ukulele with her a fair while ago. I should definitely play again with her, but she's really fun. Her music is very fun and like interactive, and she'll like point at people in the audience, and like she's always telling stories when she's playing, and you can tell that like she's like put her whole life into her music, and she really has. Like her house is insane. She has like tons of musical instruments, and like I have a cousin Celia and my other cousin Davy. We like to go over to her house a lot. She has like giant bins of like musical instruments that we can play whenever we want. I've never played with my dad at Pegs. On the rare occasion I let him play with me at home, but I don't really like it.
I couldn't be more proud of Sadie. You know, one of the most fun days ever was she came down one day and decided she wanted to work on the floor, and she was amazing. She talked to every table. She helped bus tables. She was setting tables, and I, you know, she walked out of here with more money than I think any kid should have, because everybody was tipping her so much. You know, like, and I had promised to pay her like, you know, $5 or something like that. You know, like I didn't want to give the money anymore because she made so much off of tips.
I gave my dad zero money out of that. He paid me $5 an hour, and I worked for like
There's no child labor happening here.
I worked.
This is the big scoop. This is entrapment.
This was all me. Like yeah. I worked for a good while. I got a fair amount of money from Dad, but then like even though people like working at Pegs that day tipped me because they were like, "Oh my God, you're so cute," and then like people, we have like a patio outside. When I was like going out to check on the tables out there, people would be walking down the sidewalk and see me and be like, "Oh my God, you're working at this restaurant," and then gave me money, even though they weren't even eating here.
You know, her first gig, her debut, she came with my mother's band, the British Columbia State Orchestra, and Sadie sat in playing ukulele and played the song Pagliacci. You know, and
it's a really pretty song.
It's a very pretty song.
Bob
yeah.
used to play it to me and my two cousins Celia and Davy all the time when we were younger. She has this, like we had tons of songs whenever we went over to her house. Like her staircase going upstairs was like really long. And there was like a whole song we did every time we went up and down the stairs. Yeah.
And Sadie doesn't know it, but tomorrow night she's going to be down here by herself playing giant steps.
No. To be truthful, I don't really see myself as a manager of this place. I do definitely see myself working here in the future, maybe when I'm a teenager, that kind of thing. But when I'm older, it's definitely not like I want to be like the manager like my dad, but I would want to work here at some points.
What job do you want to do here?
I think I would, that's a good question. I don't know. Well, everyone starts on the floor, right?
Well, you can start in the kitchen if you wanted to.
Well, I think I would start on the floor and kind of just work my way up.
Okay.
I want people to know that about Pegs, that you can you can come in. You should feel like family here. You should feel very welcome. It's a very open space. You should never feel like you're not safe here. This is a place for everyone to be themselves.
Good job.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Merci for coming here by Pagliacci's. Bienvenue chez Pagliacci's. Have fun. This is the place to be. How's everybody on this year? Welcome. You've chosen the resident. Let's get it started.
Hi, my name name's Scott White. I'm in charge of the music program here, and I'm one of the musicians who has a history with the place and who also performs here currently. Well, this job I have, this role, was, I think Solomon just felt sorry for me. Coming back to town with not that much to do, and he realized he could free up his own time a little if I took care of some of the music details. And then the two of us developed this weekend music series, sort of a late night thing, which I actually played at last night. I rarely do. And the place was packed at 9:30, and we played until 11 with a young trumpet player just back from his studies in Amsterdam. And it was a great atmosphere. Well, the music concept at PAGS, I think, basically really is a continuation of the initial overall overriding artistic vision that went along with this restaurant, to not only open up a restaurant, to have a sort of an arts hub in the community and something that intersected with the music community here in Victoria. So right from the get-go, and of course with an emphasis on jazz, as in sort of modern improvised music, you could say. And that's when I first performed here, when I'm 17, we were playing jazz, and I've always played jazz here, but I've performed all kinds of kind of country music and lots of other things. So it's a pretty open and broad program, emphasis on improvised, soulful music, so that hence a lot of jazz. And there's regular music 5 nights a week, because now that the weekends have been opened up to this late night series, which the emphasis on that was really to allow young performers to provide them with a venue. Well, you know, this is really, in terms of young musicians performing here, it's really word of mouth, and they've just spread it amongst themselves. And also in the jazz community, people know me from the jazz community. And when they talk to some of the regular musicians here, word got out that I'm organizing the music, so they contact me. And really the qualifications are more that they can bring people in to the restaurant. I'll give anyone a chance if they can bring some people in, and to maintain sort of an active and vibrant atmosphere at that time of night when things slow down. And this is a place for them to advertise that, hey, people come on out, no cover. They don't collect money at the door. It's not a club that takes a percentage. They don't have to kick back anything. It's a different sort of setting than what they otherwise are encountering. The challenges of performing in a restaurant are many, and each restaurant is different. But certainly, because I guess I could say in one respect I am an expert at this, because I for many years performed in dinner theater in Europe. There it's in a larger setting. It would be like, 250 to 350 people per night in a large room. But I was always involved in music that went along with circus arts, acrobatics, and food, fine dining. Now, so in some ways it's a continuation of that here at Pagliacci's. You never know the audience you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get, and my approach is the soft approach. I like to bring them into the music. So I prefer to start quieter. I prefer to try never to be too loud, to force the situation, because people are here for different reasons, They're not always here for happy reasons. They may be consoling each other, or, you just need a change from your life, so you want to come to Pagliacci's because it's a vibrant atmosphere and you want to shake it up. You don't want to be somewhere too quiet, but you're not always in the mood for music, or maybe not the type of music the band's playing, which in that respect too, if you're delivering your music sincerely and with emotional content in the music, generally it will start to sort of come across sort of sympathetically to the audience. And the audience will then pick up on your sincerity. In other words, it's not all about you. You're sort of serving the music. So if you're serving the music in general, which I hope I don't wax too poetic here, but If you're serving the music, then it's an unselfish approach to music, and you allow the music to do the work for you. But you've got to be an adequate conductor of that sort of approach. You've got to be good enough as a musician that the music can speak through you, and that generally works. Well, in terms of famous musicians who've played here, there's Dexter Gordon, Barney Kessel, in the pantheon of true jazz legends. Diana Krall played here when she was just starting her career. Phil Dwyer's played here a bunch of times. Hugh Fraser, these guys sort of legendary on the Canadian music scene. Diana Krall's legendary on the international music scene. She and I went to music camp together with Phil Dwyer when we were all 15. And there's been lots of people dropping in who've played here. There's Eugene Hardy played here, Mark Atkinson's played here, the Bills played here, Daniel Lapp and done that. Maybe some of the young musicians who are even performing here now will become sort of jazz legends in their own right here in terms of Canada. What Pagliacci's brings to the community of musicians here is rather unique, but every town with a good music scene has an establishment or two around which the musicians center themselves, and it's a place they generally feel welcome. It's the place they like to play. It's a place they appreciate playing for. And even in New York City, you get places like Smalls and all the little clubs. There's often not even that many people. And they get incredibly great names that will play there for, of course, a lot less money than when they're touring, because they appreciate the fact that that venue is keeping the music alive and providing a place that people can come and hear the music, because it's especially this sort of improvised music, well, really all music, none of it's a historic artifact. It has to be recreated continually to keep it alive. And that's why you need venues for this. And the difference between having a restaurant that just runs a playlist or something is enormous. We all know recorded music is, it's valid in its own right, but you can't compare it with live music. It's just the same as live theater or any sort of actual live human activity that is, what is art? Art is in and of itself the act of creation, and the act of creation cannot just be quantified and that's it, end product. It's a process. And so this is all part of this process. And this process, when it also involves, when you think of it, well, what do people need to do every day? People need to socialize. People need to eat. People need to try and come into the restaurant. People need to do things. What I want people to know about the live music scene at Pagliacci's is basically that it exists and that it's an opportunity for you to hear. You're probably going to hear some of the best music around, because the quality musicians here is really good. And it's a place to sort of support that idea that there is live music, like there used to be in the days before there was recorded music. Because what gave birth to all this music that everybody's listening to and has spawned this whole new generation of music is music that was created before recordings, right? Human interaction. And it's, Pagliacci's has been a really successful restaurant for a number of reasons, but you can't help but make the conclusion that somewhere along the line it had to do with having live music, regular live music from its inception. It's not a money-making gimmick for them to have live music. It's a commitment to supporting that art form. And hence, the restaurant feels different and feels alive and fun. And that energy is here that is not apparent in a lot of other places. And they took the risk, and they keep maintaining it, even in the hard times, which we all appreciate.
When people come to Pagliacci's, I want them to feel like they're coming home. I want them to enjoy the music. I want them to experience what community, what connection is about. Creating these memories and creating joy is what you're supposed to be doing when you're going out, in a mindset that creates love. And I want every single person who comes in here to feel the way that I felt with my Jewish grandmother making me a meal when I was little.
These streets are a changing. Hard to find which direction to go. It's hard to keep up with time, you see. Feel like you're just one step behind, but you got to push it too.